Derek and I have been married for 36 years, and even before we were married, we talked about adopting as well as having our own children. So now we have one biological son, 4 children that we adopted from the foster care system, and now we also have a little foster 2-year-old that we're in the process of adopting. We adopted our 4th daughter, Alex, who was born with fetal alcohol syndrome. Fetal alcohol syndrome affects children differently. And for her, it affects her processing. To look at Alex, she's healthy, you would think she's just fine, but it's very difficult for her to process information. She would sit in school and listen, but she couldn't process. After that, after adopting Alex, we knew love was not enough. We knew that we needed more help. We needed services, we needed resources, we needed help in raising children that have been through so much before they were placed with us. So in 1988, we founded an organization called Together as Adoptive Parents. We originally started as a support group, and support groups are a safe place where families can come, where families feel safe to talk, where you can tell those stories and no one sort of look at you like you have 2 heads, and understand what's going on when you talk about children that you adopted from the foster care system with many traumas, many learning disabilities, many issues that is no fault of their own.
Yeah, we sort of morphed into more than just a social support group, but an active support group. We realized that any family in our situation needed help, and they need access to those services. We came out with a couple of ways to do it. In those days, we had a program called the FIST program, Family Intervention and Support Training, which we would train families to be able to intervene in another family's life when they needed help. We had a similar program called the Buddy program, which when a child was placed with a family for adoption, we would match them with an experienced family for the same type of child to mentor them through that process for the first few years. And we got more and more involved in providing active supports to people rather than just being a social let's sit down and chat organization. In late 1998, 97, 98, we had this dream of we need to be able to provide these services to any family who wants it. And we said, how do we do that? Well, the only answer to do that was through the web. So in 1998, we launched a website, a Pennsylvania website with every resource we could locate for a family with some sort of problem.
So we do trainings. We provide trainings, monthly trainings for our families, and we bring professionals in to talk about what happens when you adopt a child that have been sexually abused. What happens when you adopt a child that have been neglected or traumatized physically or emotionally. What happens? So we do a lot of training with our families to give them the tools that they need to parent the children that are being placed in our homes to adopt. We also do conferences for our families. We have an all-day conference where they can get together and laugh and be with other families that understand, get it, what they're going through. The kids can be with other kids. It's just as important for children to be around other children that are in the same situation, that they don't feel different. If we get families, adoptive families, foster families, kinship families, resources, help, find them services, help them to understand what's happening in a child's brain, why they're behaving the way they are, we know that they can have good outcomes.
We have this vision of one day taking the website national. We're just not certain how to get there yet. It's a lot of work.
And we run a helpline in our home. So we get calls. It could be any time, day or night. We get calls, and there are calls of families needing help. There are calls of families in crisis, and we're 25 years old, so now we're able to find those resources to help families.
I called Together as adopted parents to inform them that Rayshana had passed away. And Phyllis was on the other end of the phone, and she said, when you make the arrangements, let me know. And I'm like, okay. When we made the arrangements, Phil said, I'll be there. I'll be there. All I want to know is address where my daughter lived. And Phyllis flew down. She stayed with me. She stayed with me throughout the whole funeral, grieving part. She stayed there with me. She stayed there with me. And as TAP, other families, they connected with me. They sent cards and they called me and they reached out to me, because it's like I felt like I was all alone. But when Phyllis showed up and we got that hug, I knew that I had the best support in the world to help me through this. And she stood there. She stood there until they lowered her body in the ground.
It becomes more than just an organization. It becomes like a family or a friendship, because when you help someone, they want to help someone. And then we start helping each other, and then we start calling and we follow up, on the call, and it just develops into a friendship after that. And then you want to know what happened to the child, and then you call. So a lot of the calls that we get have just become friends now. We see them all over the place. They come to my home, and most of our activity we hold at our home. We have our picnics here. We have our events here. So now people just come to our home. We do what we do, and we love what we do because we see the outcomes. We see those kids become productive and get jobs, or going to the service, or going to college, or trade school. We see that, and that's what makes it all worthwhile.
One of the things I really appreciate is usually at the picnic when I meet somebody who we knew when they were coming in as a 2 or 3 year old, and now they're grown and they're in there, and we're talking. Some of them have still got problems. Some of them have still got problems, but we've known them their whole life. They know us.
Yes, yeah.
They're friends.
In the state of Pennsylvania, there's 14,000 children in foster care. 14,000. In the United States, there are 400,000, almost 500,000 children in foster care. In the United States, 28,000 aged out of foster care. What happens to those kids once they age out? They become homeless. They end up incarcerated. Some will go back to that same abuse that the state took them out of. It's a very, very bleak picture for kids who age out of foster care. So that's why we believe that if we continue to provide support and families know that they're not alone, more families will adopt the older child that's close, the ones closest to aging out. More families will take that risk of adopting the sibling groups of 3, 4 children, because if they know that they have support and help and they're not alone.
Prior to meeting TAP, I felt like, I was in this world all by myself with the children, and I'm like, I know nobody else can go through this with me. But when I met TAP, it was like a whole new world just opened up. I no longer had the feeling that I was alone, because the support was there. All I had to do was call Phyllis. Even till this day, I can call TAP, leave a message, get a call back, what's the matter? And I thank God for TAP, because I don't know how I would have made it, especially through Rayshana passing. I don't know how I would have made it had it not been for TAP being there for me. And when I say TAP, the entire group, Mr. Derrick and all the other parents, they just bonded to me.
When you get those calls and they're so happy that they finally adopted this child, or they're so happy that they finally got that resource, or that's my reward. People ask me, well, Phyllis, how can you go on? My reward is the family. When I hug those kids and they see me and they come running up to me no matter where I am, Miss Phyllis, and they give me that hug, That's my reward. When I see families intact where it was shaky, where they were going to thinking about not adopting the child or sending the child back into foster care, and it's working and they made it through, that's my reward. My reward is my families. When I get together at the picnics and we just hug and we talk about past, we have families in our organization that has been with us 25 years and their children are now 40 or 35 years old, but they still come. See, that's my reward, is knowing that it's not just a family. It's not just a family. We're talking about a family, and their family. We're talking about a generation. We have stopped a cycle. We have stopped a cycle. We have started new. Broken one cycle, started another, where they treat their children good. There's no abandonment. They marry. They raise their children in a successful home. So it's not just we're helping adoptive foster families. We're helping generations. So that's my reward. And I love it. I don't work a day in my life because I love what I do.